Hey everybody, Pastor Luke Barnett here, and I want to just invite you all to be part of our Easter trilogy this year. This year is going to be off the charts. It's the greatest year that we've ever put together. Week one of our Easter trilogy on April 6th is called The God of the Second Chance. If you know people who just need a second chance at life, invite them to come with you. Week two of the trilogy is April 13th, and it's called The God of No Regret. If you know people who are living, being weighed down by great regret, this is a weekend for them. It's also our big Easter egg hunt, and just a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And then finally, on the April 20th is Easter Sunday, and it's a brand new illustrated sermon called The God of the Cave. God does some of his greatest work in caves. Now, the Friday before that's our big Good Friday service, and if you've been to our Good Friday service, you know that it is absolutely spectacular. About 2,500 people outside underneath our shade structure, and beautiful music, and a time of reflection upon the cross. So, hey, what do you say? Come join us this year for the Easter trilogy. It will change your life. God bless you guys. Love y'all.
Today's topic is feeding our communities, and we have our co-host. She's no longer a guest co-host, but Sam Ariza, and Pam Trudeau is here with us from Mom's Pantry. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So can you just introduce yourself? Just tell us a little bit about your family and background a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pam Trudeau with Mom's Pantry. Started coming to Dream City about 10 or 12 years ago. And I have a husband, Aaron Trudeau, and 4 kids. And we've just loved being a part of this church, being a part of Mom's Pantry, everything that we've been doing. My background was in engineering. I did engineering for a few years and then moved to home energy audits and solar, and finally decided, I thought, I am done making money for other people. I want to help people.
Like
I had been volunteering at the pantry for about 1.5 years, and the position opened to be the director. And I thought, man, I'll do this instead. And so interviewed with the founders, Bob and Barb Fraley, and church, because church is heavily involved in the pantry. And so it was a great fit, and I've been there for 9 years.
That's amazing. And I love you. When you were talking to us before the show, you were saying something about how you felt like the Lord had told you were going to be running the pantry.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay, yeah, you're fun, God.
I was sitting in service one day, and an advertisement came up for Mom's Pantry. It was very early on when we first started coming here. And I just heard this voice, kind of, not really a voice, but just this, feeling
Prompting.
like you're going to run that place someday. I'm like, well, that was weird. And I was like, well, let me just walk in there and be like, oh, here I am, here to save the day.
You're welcome.
I know you needed me.
And I thought, well, I'll just go volunteer. So me and one of my older daughters went and volunteered there, and so we volunteered for 1.5 years. I did a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, and doing registration, a lot of the roles that our volunteers do. So which I think helped prepare me. So I didn't have to learn everything all at once. And when I started, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah. Because
I have this engineering background.
I know, that's what I was going to say. I kind of, when I first heard that, I was like, wait, what? I did not know that at all. So.
But I think that's a really big, I love that. I mean, this doesn't have anything to do necessarily with our episode, but I think that's important. And it's just such an amazing thing that when you're obedient, right, and you step out. So much of what I do right now, I knew nothing at all about when I first started either, but I just stepped out because I felt like that's where God was directing me. It's the same thing where you just, if you feel like the Lord's directing you somewhere, to be brave and step out, be obedient, step out, and he will equip you to do the work that he's calling you to do, even if it's something that doesn't make any sense at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. When I first started, like my first year, I would go and visit other food banks. What are you doing? How are you operating? What are you using? who's helping you? What are your resources? And everyone was super nice.
Yeah.
And some of them I still talk to and I connect with. What are you doing about this? How are you handling this? How are your numbers? Who are you? Are you increasing? Are you decreasing? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, that's so good. So getting more into the food bank, food pantry side of things. I didn't know this, that food pantries are a little bit different than food banks. Is that true?
Somebody told me the definition the other day, and I was like, I think they're the same thing. I use them interchangeably.
Okay.
Food pantry, food bank.
As long as you do, then I can use that term too. I'll be like,
I'm curious. What does the internet say?
The internet says that food banks are kind of just like the bigger distribution center for the food pantries. So when I looked it up, the Arizona Food Bank Network is a group of 5 regional food banks and nearly 1,000 food pantries in different agencies. And I believe Mom's Pantry falls under the food pantry version of that. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The things you learn.
Right? I know. Google. It's crazy. But somebody fact check me. So.
Yep.
But Mom's Pantry is one of the local food pantries. So you're saying that you went around to different food pantries to see how they were run. How is ours kind of run? If you could explain that to us a little bit, how we operate.
Yeah. Mom's Pantry is open on Saturdays and Sundays. So Saturday 10 to 2 and Sundays 10 to 1. Our guests can come once per weekend. So if you come you can either come Saturday or Sunday. You just can't come both days. Gotcha. And we give a variety of things, not just food. So we have a list that they get to look at when they first come in, when they get checked in, and they can pick from things that we get donated that we don't keep in stock. So just random stuff that we get in. And each week that list looks a little bit different, but generally there's a section of boxed in canned goods, perishable items that we get in. Some of it I do buy. So I buy produce because I want them to have good produce. Some of the stuff we get from the grocery stores is not great. Chips there's a reason why they're getting rid of that produce. And by the time it gets to me and then the weekend comes. So anyway, I buy.
Because they give you their stuff that's like older, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is fine if it's a box of mac and cheese, but not if it's a head of lettuce, right? Yeah. I get that.
We have a baby section and pet food section, hygiene and household, like toothbrush, toothpaste. A lot of those other items you can't buy with SNAP benefits. You can only get food with SNAP benefits.
And what are SNAP benefits?
So that's money that people can use that the state gives them that they can use towards food. It used to be called food stamps.
Okay.
So, which I still just say food stamps.
I know, I do too. Because it hasn't been that long that it's SNAP, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah. So,
I mean, I'm old, so I don't know, has it been a decade or what?
It could be, right? I don't know when it changed.
When it switched, but
and what it stands for, all I know is this is money you get for food.
SNAP. We got it. Yeah. So, and then I have a follow-up question with that. So you get donations. Do you get any of the big, so you get things from grocery stores. Do people donate to you, right? So people can drop off food or items or toiletries, but you also work with certain food distribution centers or grocery stores or whatever, where they give you things. Is that how that works?
Our biggest donors, our top 2 donors, are Midwest Food Bank. So that's the bank. They only serve the food pantries, if we want to be technical. So they don't serve the community. They serve people who serve the community food pantries.
Got it.
So they're one of our largest donors. Amazon is another large donor. They donate food, drinks. I've gotten diapers from them before, and sometimes just random stuff that... like bear spray and I know, we have like a running list of the odd things that we get from them.
You said bear spray?
Yeah, bear spray.
You run into so many bears.
I know.
Phoenix,
in Phoenix. So, but just random things, books, clothes, different things that we'll get from them. Sometimes dishes or silverware. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
And then, so how many people do you guys serve in the community currently?
So each weekend we're serving about 420 families, which is about 1,300 people. So that's every Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. And how have you seen them change throughout the years since you've started doing it, I should say?
Generally, it increases every year on how many people that we're feeding.
Well, you were telling us in the pre-meeting about how crazy COVID season was for you guys.
Right. I have graphs in my report.
You blocked it out.
And so it's just like here's the graph going up, and then here's COVID, and then
like a big
here's
spike.
my graph
It
again
just keeps
coming
going
up.
up that way. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, because there were and because people were not working, they weren't. You had to follow the little arrows in the grocery store. I still don't quite know what that was supposed to do.
That was crazy.
Or the little like fiberglass sneeze guard there between the person that's touching your food,
Right.
and like none of it. Just the insanity of all of that. Still, like I don't know why people even listen to any of that stuff, but it was harder to go get things. You had the run on toilet paper and things were out of stock. And so it was nuts at that time. So I'm sure you guys did a lot of, plus if there were kids that were home and that were used to being fed at school.
Correct.
Right. Because that's a big thing too, right? Where kids get free reduced lunch and breakfast sometimes. I know that a lot of the foster kids that live in group homes, they go get free, reduced lunch. And then you've got, all of a sudden kids are home and they're learning online or, doing remote learning, that then
they need food too.
Yeah. They need to be fed during the day.
Yeah. And a lot of people were just struggling.
Yeah.
And they still are. At that time, shortly after COVID hit, they increased rent by $800. Like that's an increase in $800.
Yeah.
But for your rent, that's a whole nother job you need to get.
Right.
And gas prices started increasing. Grocery prices started increasing. I look at things I ordered a year ago. I'm paying double of what we paid.
Yeah. Well, I read like the other day, the price of eggs has gone up like $6 or something like that in the last 5 years.
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole different reason of them slaughtering all the chickens for no reason. But that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah.
But that is a valid point though. I mean, you've got when and this is something that I think that, if you're living a sort of comfortable life, you don't necessarily think about how much that impacts people that are living literally paycheck to paycheck, right? Yeah. Or struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. If your rent goes up $800 or your grocery bill goes up by 50%, that's a huge deal. Yeah. That's a big impact on your, and then you were also talking about how people that have fixed incomes as well. So whether you're elderly people that are living off of Social Security and are not working anymore, or whatever the case is, that when you have a fixed income, that when those increases happen, that it really does have an impact.
Yes. So if you're on Social Security, I think they increased it a couple times since COVID started and all the prices increased, but not by much. People have
not compared to the price.
Yeah,
increases.
not compared.
Like for everything else. Yeah. Right.
Right.
So
if you're
gas
relying on your Social Security check to cover your rent and your groceries and your utility bills, eventually it's just not. And so we see a lot of elderly people or people on disabilities, single moms coming through the door, families that have now like regrouped and now they're all living together as opposed to each having their own homes.
I've offered it's like I was teasing my kids. I'm like, you guys just all come live and we can just all live in the same house like they did in the old days. They're like, yeah, no, that's okay. We're good.
My younger ones
we
want
moved
that.
out, Mom.
We want my kids say that. We want everyone to live with us.
Everyone
my little
to
ones.
live.
And I'm like, no.
It's like build a compound.
How old are your
we'll
kids?
all live together.
The younger two are 12 and 13.
12 and 13. That's so funny. Yeah. That's when it seems fun.
Yeah.
Right. But it is though. You do see that, right? Where you have multiple generations living in the same home because it's more economical, and then you can have childcare and you're paying one rent or mortgage instead of two, and so
We had those ladies, I think I shared with you, that we had 3 ladies that they met at a hotel because they were all evicted. They couldn't pay their rent anymore. So they're trying to, at least live in a hotel, which is even expensive. And so they met each other. They pulled their resources together. So now they all live in one room. One's helping clean rooms at the hotel. Another one has a job, but they're all, like coming together. They were strangers before that.
Right.
So,
Right. That's crazy that's how bad the economy was, right?
I know. Yeah. It's crazy.
Under this, yeah. I mean, hopefully it's climbing out of that a little bit. I mean, it does take a little bit of time before it trickles down enough to impact
right.
situations like that.
I heard rent pricing was going down. I don't know if that's the truth or not, but usually
Hopefully.
things don't go down.
Well, but I mean, housing, because I've talked to a lot of young adults, right, that it's hard to find housing that's affordable, or even just to find a home to buy that's not ridiculous, because the housing is so expensive.
And in a good neighborhood too.
Right.
In a safe place.
Right. Yeah.
Where you feel comfortable walking into your car and back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what, have you seen any changes in the type of people that come into the pantry since COVID, I would say, maybe?
We get all walks of life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's anyone walking in our door, from, the 65 plus community to, we even have had kids come through to say, like, my parents aren't capable of coming in. Like, they're just not. Who knows what's going on with them? Like, yeah, give them food. They need it.
Right.
If he's willing to come down here.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which makes you wonder how they got there, right?
Sometimes the neighbor brings them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then you have some employees, right? But then you have a bunch of volunteers that work the pantry. How many people does it take to operate what you're doing?
So I'm full-time. We have a part-time driver delivery guy, does a lot of our food drives. We have bins that we drop off at locations when places want to do a food drive, like schools or offices. He does that and then goes back and picks them up. Also picks up, like Midwest, he'll go down. We can pick up 6 pallets in our box truck. So he loads those up, brings them back, goes to Amazon, picks up pallets, brings them back. He's part-time. I have a grant writer that I pay. So she's, out there in the community finding grants and different foundations that will donate to Mom's Pantry. She does our newsletter.
So that you can purchase the things, right?
So we can, so we do purchase some of the items, so that way we know that people are going out the door with a few essential items, or staple items, I should say. And then I also have a part-time, we just hired on a part-time person to help with a lot of the administrative stuff that I need taken off my plate to keep going, because we're growing. And she also runs our resource center, which we just kind of started. We've always had resources and places to send people, but she's organizing it. She's out there talking to people. What do you need besides food? Because if you're coming to a food bank, most likely you need help with other things, whether it's clothes or rent, utilities, gas cards, bus passes, and where can we find those in the community? So she's researching all of that to find out where can we send them, because we don't have the bandwidth to supply all those needs,
Right.
or the facility to do it in. So she's connecting them with different resources in the valley.
Yeah.
And then you have people that volunteer.
Oh, right. I have over 500 volunteers on my list.
She's like, that's a long list.
That's a long list.
No, but I wanted you to say, how many it takes
500.
500 volunteers.
Yeah.
That's a lot of...
That's my list. On a Saturday, we have about 25 people.
Okay.
On a Sunday, it's more like 20 people there packing bags, repackaging rice and beans, checking them in, just keeping things organized. Some of them are like getting all the food choices together. So and then we have cart people that take their food out to their car for them. So a lot of different roles.
Right.
And I want to back up 1 second. I want you to explain what a pallet is, because I think a lot of people don't know what that word means. So when you're in this context, like we talk about it at the church all the time. It's like the pallet of this. And that. I mean, explain what a pallet is.
Well, they're wooden, like 2x4s. I don't think it's a 2x4. They're thinner than that, but I think it's like 4x4. I don't know the exact, but
that sounds
it's
right.
like keeps
a big
food.
wooden, right? It's like wrapped up, right? A big giant flat.
Yeah, and
container that has food or whatever in it, pallet of diapers or
a pallet of spaghetti sauce or a pallet of mac and cheese. So it just holds things all together. So you can put it all on the pallet and then wrap the pallet.
and so is that something like they have to lift with a forklift and put on usually, or is it that big?
yeah, we have forklifts, we have pallet jacks.
Yeah.
Because the delivery truck is like a moving truck size.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Right.
So I was like, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
It's not just like a pickup truck.
Right, because I mean, if and you would have to have for those pallets, that come in there.
Oh, it's essential. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has a lift gate, so you can put things on the lift gate. So take it off of there or put it on
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Makes it a lot easier.
yeah. And then I wanted you to explain too, because this was something that you said when we were talking in our pre-meeting about what do you think the difference is between? To back up it even a little bit more, Mom's Pantry is connected to Dream City Church, but it's not a ministry of the church. It's its own separate nonprofit, correct?
Correct.
So it's its own 501c3, but it was birthed out of Dream City, mostly.
In conjunction with the founders of Mom's Pantry.
Right.
So they purchased.
So it was a joint.
Yeah, they purchased the building, renovated the building.
We kind of adopted it.
And then, so they helped. They didn't want to have hands on.
Okay.
They were retired. Certain things just going on in their life that they couldn't be hands on, but they wanted to be able to provide that to the community. So Barb is the wife, Bob and Barb are husband and wife, and they're amazing people. Just so blessed and they sold their business when they were time to retire. And he said, what do you want to do with this chunk of money that's looks like it's going to come in? And she goes, I want to open a food bank because people need to eat year round, not just during Thanksgiving and Christmas when people are giving and want to give and have that heart to give. Yeah. She goes, people need to eat in February still. So
It's true. So good.
And I think there's and I love that it is, so, because do you get volunteers mostly from this church or from other places as well?
all over.
All over. And you can take a group, and if you want to have a group that comes and volunteers. So if you're listening and you have a school group or whatever, you can take groups of volunteers to come help you do some things at the food bank or sign up to do stuff. Or do you have that capacity to do that?
Yes.
Or
So
do you need regular?
I need both. I need people. I do groups on Saturdays and sometimes Sundays. I do up to 10. Because
Okay.
I need people who know what they're doing there to help show those people how to do what
Right,
they're
makes
doing and
sense.
continue to operate. Having too many new people that I've got to show them how to do everything. It's just, and run the pantry is too much.
It
So
slows the process.
it slows the process. How do I do this? How do I do that? So there's a ton of people that know how to answer those questions as well. We also do groups on Wednesdays sometimes. So we're not open, but we have volunteers there that are packing rice and beans, packing bags so that they're ready to go, going through donations, things like that.
Sorting through things, yeah.
Yeah, so we're more prepared for the weekend. And that I'll do about 20 people.
Okay.
It's just, it feels like a big facility, but when you get that many people in there moving around, it's hard to move around
Yeah.
and keep everybody
Yeah.
busy. So
Yeah,
every
but
once
if you
in
want to
while
bring a
when-
small group or something to come volunteer, do that. Yeah.
We've had work groups, church groups, kids, schools,
Yeah.
Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
That's so great.
I love that. And I think, so it is a Christian organization, Christian run. I want to talk for a minute about, I was thinking about this. I didn't think about it before when we were talking, but it's stuck with me for so many years. Someone that I know, actually from this church, who was single at the time, but had been unemployed for a long time and had done something. And I forget if she went to go get WIC or food stamps. I don't remember. At the time, it was still food stamps. And the girl, so this is a government-run office, right? The girl at the office told her to go get pregnant because she'd get more money. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, this is the advice that you're handing out. Like, go get pregnant, and then we can give you more money. And it was like, okay, I have so
it's
many
gonna
things
cost
to say.
More than what you're going to give me.
Well, and
Down the road.
What kind of advice? She was floored. Like, she was floored that they said this to her. And she was in her 20s, and she's, single, and she's struggling.
Right.
And that's your solution.
That's what your advice is.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, but so But then I was thinking about that after you were talking about some of the reviews that you guys have and the difference in the atmosphere of it being a Christ-centered place where you have people that are praying for people that come in there and talking to them, encouraging them, and giving them hope. Can you just share a little bit about, you were talking about some of the reviews and stories and things that people have said about the experience that they have coming into your place versus going in and having someone, treat them like that.
Yeah.
Like what I just said.
A couple of years ago, the lady who runs our board, she said, if you're having a rough day, you should go read your Google reviews. I was like, well, now I had to know what she's talking about. I'm not having a rough day, but I started reading them and I just cried. I was like, this is so nice that people would say these things about the food bank. Like how nice they were treated and how people really cared, that they greeted them with a smile. Like, how are you doing today? And just listening to them. A lot of people, they're really lonely that no one listens to them, or, like they're always correcting them or telling them what to do. And so, you come in and people will smile at you and they greet you and they're just kind. They don't make you feel bad that you're there or make you feel any less than anyone else because you're there. It's kind of scary if you think about it. Like you're putting yourself in this vulnerable position that you're in need.
Yeah.
And you have to walk into this place with all these people and admit that you need help. And so many places like WIC or if the SNAP benefits, you have to provide like your pay stubs and, like letters of, that you're no longer working and all these things and birth certificates. I'm like, they just need food. Yeah. We asked them to bring ID and proof of address, like wherever their piece of mail. I'm like, if they don't have that, it's not a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I understand why the government, they need to try to keep people from scamming.
Correct.
There's a need for that. And we don't want people to giant hair on the table. Sorry, I'm shedding apparently.
And what is WIC? Really quick. What is WIC?
So WIC is Women, Infants, and Children, and it's something that you can go get. It's especially for women when they're pregnant or when they have little kids. I mean, that's usually when people use that, and you can get some food, milk and
formula, cheeses, tuna. Like
basic
you're
staple.
limited to most of the time it's quality food.
Okay.
Like cheese, milk. I think yogurt is on the list. Cereal is on there, but even that is limited to like certain cereals. Like you can't buy Fruit Loops and things like that.
They want healthy.
They want healthy.
I feel like it was like peanut butter and bread or something like that too, where you can, things that so that you're not, because one of the things that happens, again, with people abusing systems, right? The government does have to check all of those things that people don't just scam assistance when they don't need it, and then you're taking money from people who do need it, right? Because I think a lot of times the people who really do need it, they go as a last resort. When they really do need help, they don't go in as a last resort, and then you have other people that try to scam it. And then there's not money for the people that actually do need help if they are, if it's being taken by people who shouldn't even be in the system. But with WIC, I think it's different. Fact check me on this because I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like with that, what I was going to say is with SNAP, with some of those food, but you can go in and you can buy, McDonald's, even some of the fast food places, you can get
corner stores. You can buy chips and candy bars,
and candy bars,
energy drinks,
soda.
I don't know about energy drinks, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, you can buy junk food with that.
Right. So then you don't have actual nutrition for kids in the home if they're spending all their SNAP benefits on buying, 2-liter bottles of Coke, right?
Yeah. And it also goes further on the other side. Like you could buy the high-end steaks and shrimp and so you're spending all the money on that.
And it doesn't go as far. So WIC is those staples, right? The basic staples, and you get a certain amount of them, depending on what situation you're in. If you're pregnant, if you have a baby, if you have like
small children,
small children, so that they're ensuring that you have some of those staples like milk and a peanut butter sandwich, or whatever, like quality cereal, something like that to eat. Yeah.
And how often is it like renewed SNAP benefits or WIC?
I think you have to go in. Is it like every 6? I'm not 100% sure. I feel like
Like
it's
for
every
their money?
6. Yeah, they have to go in. I think
Oh, it's automatic.
it's automatic, but you do have to. If there's changes, you have to go in every 6 months or a year or something to prove that you still your situation's still the same.
makes
That you're
sense.
not.
That you still qualify.
You still qualify, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it is and that is an ordeal. Like that place is not fun. That we're to go get the sign up to get benefits.
It's like going to
that.
the DMV, man.
Right.
No fun.
Except for the DMV now, you can do a lot. There's a lot of other,
Like
little
third
sites,
parties.
party things
Yeah.
that go on. If you are going to that, you have to sit in that room, and it takes a long time. And again, they do go through, and there is a need for that. It's not like there's not, but then again, we don't know how it's being used, and so a food pantry really is a good way to kind of bolster that. And you were saying that even some of the stuff that you get in, you'd rather have other. You don't want to hand out energy drinks. You want to hand out apples and
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting donated.
Right.
Yeah.
You give out what you get donated, but it'd be better to. And you said something about the farm to table thing. Can you talk about that a little bit before I forgot? I had that written down. I
Yes.
was like, you talked about that.
So after COVID hit, after a little while, I don't remember exactly when we started getting them, but the Trump administration at the time.
So this is the first time.
The first time. I think it was either his wife or daughter or something. I'm a female
Ivanka.
Trump. Put together a program where local farmers, dairy producers would put together these boxes. And I don't know how they were being supported, but I know that they were being supported to be able to provide these items. So there were fresh fruits and vegetables in these boxes, eggs. Most of the time it was hard-boiled eggs, milk, different yogurts were in there, potatoes, onions, these 30-pound boxes on pallets. So like higher than me. Would come in, they would want me to take semis of these because they were just mass producing them for food banks and food pantries. And so we were getting a ton of that, tons, literally tons, which was wonderful to be able to give out good quality food to people who were struggling. And then the new administration came in and that stopped within the first month. We stopped receiving those.
Interesting. The first
Yeah.
month. That's crazy.
Well, and this is one of the things that with all of this stuff, I mean, so we didn't really talk too much about the legislative part of it, and there's not as much to say on this one, but there is an effect, right, on who's in office at the state level based on how well the offices are being run, how well the benefits are being dealt with, so that people that are actually in need are getting those things and not people that are not, so that there's it just all of it, right? How those kind of offices are being run. Whoever's elected in office has an impact on that. And even the federal level, we mostly talk state and local, but that would have been federal level. Those things do have an impact on something down to a food bank, right? You don't think about that, that would have an impact on that, but it does. It's important. It's important as Christians that we're paying attention to all of these little things that happen because those things make a difference. Like who would know that who's the president is going to affect the quality of food that you're getting at it's not something anybody would think about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our logistics for food, like the cost of food went up. And then even talking with Midwest Food Bank, who's our largest donor, like the food bank, they would, we were talking about resources and he said, well, before I used to get pallets and I would just have to pay for them to deliver it to us. So wherever the manufacturing facility was to get it to us, I wouldn't have to pay for the product, just for them to ship it to us. Because there is a cost involved with that. Nothing's free.
Right.
And so they were willing to pay that. And then after COVID hit, and they ended up having to pay for the food too. So businesses weren't able to give out food like they used to.
Right.
And I don't know if they lost that benefit of donating or they just couldn't afford to donate anymore. Minimum wage was increasing. the
Right.
World was changing.
the world was
Well,
changing.
so yeah, when minimum wage increases, when the cost of fuel increases and it costs more to transport goods from one place to another, when you've got all of these little things that do affect all of that. I mean, if it affects the price that we're paying to go, hop in our car and go to work or go to the grocery store, that is going to trickle down and it's going to impact nonprofits really severely. I would think that all of those costs go up, which means that you're either getting less at one time or it's fewer and farther between, because to pay for a company or a person to donate, it's costing more and you're getting less.
Right.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So all of those things are important, and we're talking about feeding. And I love that you're feeding them not just food, but you're feeding their soul too.
Yes.
Yeah,
with
I have a
those-
few people.
Yeah.
They don't like to be in the back or process things. They just want to be out there talking to people, which I'm like, I love that.
That's so
'Cause
great.
I'm so busy. I'm all over the place, so I can't do it. But they just have that heart.
Yeah.
Saturday, one of the girls who does that, she's in the back doing processing cans, and I was like, Faith, get out there. There's a whole group home of ladies. Get out there. And she knew one of the ladies who she was on drugs and then left the Dream Center, and then now she's in a new group home, and she got to pray with her, and she's clean now. And so got
Amazing.
to re-encourage her.
Yeah.
And
And
then
so
the other
cool.
lady, then somebody saw her praying with her, and she's like, will you pray for me?
Oh my God.
And I try to
love
get
it.
these group homes to come to Celebration of Christmas, but they can't because it's faith-based. And I'm like, really? Get them out of the house.
Right.
Get them over here.
But this is a great example. These group homes that are not coming, they can't bring them to a
Right.
church because it's a faith-based event, but they're bringing them to your food pantry where they're getting prayed for and they're seeing all
Yeah.
of that. So I love that. I love how that is just a way for us to be out in the community. That's a lot of
Yes.
what we talk about, right? Taking your faith outside of the walls of the church and being out in the community. That's a great story to end on. I love that. Did you have any other questions, or that
No,
was it?
That was so good.
That was a great story to end on. I love it. I thank you so much for coming and sharing all of the amazing work that you guys are doing at Mom's Pantry. And so do you know the website off the top of your head?
momspantryphoenix.org.
So you spell out Phoenix?
Yes, Phoenix
Okay.
is spelled out.
momspantryphoenix.org, and we'll put that in the show notes as well. But thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for listening to Into the Fire, powered by Dream City Church.
You can listen to this podcast on Apple and Spotify and follow us on social media. Find all the info on the show notes. To learn more about Dream City Church, visit our website at dreamcitychurch.us. Thanks for listening.